Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I'll be going over a bunch of major injury updates for the Washington Commanders. Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Sam Cosmi, and also some important injury updates for the Chicago Bears for this Week 6 matchup, Monday Night Football at home against the Chicago Bears. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. Let's get right into it. So yeah, the Commanders have a bunch of injuries that they're dealing with, and some guys started to come back last week. We had John Bates back, I believe Percy Butler, which is good. I'm trying to think, maybe one other guy. So now the guys that are not on IR, Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin, and Sam Cosmi. Those are the guys that we're waiting to hear on, and or not waiting to hear on, I mean kind of, but more importantly, waiting to see if they will play this week or when they're going to come back. Overall, just to give you guys the quick summary before we get into more detail, Sam Cosmi is looking good. I would say this week, if not next week at the latest. That's what he said too. Terry McLaurin looks like probably not going to play this week. Noah Brown, a little bit of a question mark. So Terry McLaurin, this is going to be his third missed game, and once you get to 4, it's like you might as well have put him on IR. And speaking of IR, I'm a little bit, might be on IR as well. I'm just kidding. Just had a little bit of a, jammed finger, a fracture in football, but just thought, on the topic of injuries, would mention that. But let's get into Noah Brown. So he practiced today for the Washington Commanders. Terry McLaurin did not. So that's not good news for Terry. We're still going into the third game, and he has not practiced. That is not good news at all for the Washington Commanders. But the good news is that Luke has stepped up. Deebo Samuel has stepped up. And, Jalen Lane, not that he's stepped up, but he's made some plays too. And, hopefully Luke can continue to make plays. And then also, if you have Noah Brown back, that helps, cushion the blow a little bit as well. Yeah, Noah Brown's nowhere near where Terry is as a player, and he also is very injury prone. But when he's out there, he can make some plays. He's a lot better than Chris Moore and, Tay Martin and some of the other guys we have available. So for me, having Noah Brown back there is good. Not to say that I'm, expecting him to go for 70, 80 yards every game. No, I'm not expecting him to, even finish out the game, much less finish out the entire season, because we know with him, he's always injured. So, or even if he's not injured, he'll be injured, within a few weeks. It's just unfortunate, but that's kind of the reality of the situation there. Let's get into some more. Let's see if I can find any, Noah Brown clips here from practice, just so you guys can see. So he was, running some routes. He looks good. I mean, for a guy that's, dealing with a groin injury, it looks like there he's running his route full speed. If not full speed, 90%. So there he looks good. He looks good, and, he's making some good plays, and he looks like he's in football shape. I don't know why this clip isn't playing, but yeah, overall, he looks like he's in football shape and is ready to go for this game. They'll release the actual report a little bit later on today. We'll see if he's a limited full participant or DMP. Would be surprised if it was a DMP, considering he was doing some work. My guess is he's a limited participant, for today's practice. Will probably be limited again on Thursday, and then Friday maybe they'll give him rest and get him good to go to play on Monday. For some reason, I thought the practices this week would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just because it is a Monday night game. So, it'll be interesting to see if they still, actually do practice on Saturday, because that's, again, usually how it works. You practice 2 days before the game, but obviously it's a different, schedule that they're working with. And yeah, Terry did not practice today with that quad injury. You guys can see some more clips here from Noah Brown, but like I said, looks like he is recovering well from that groin injury, and I think he has a much better chance to play than Terry McLaurin. I mean, that seems pretty obvious because he is out there practicing while Terry McLaurin is not. So unfortunate situation there with Terry, because he's one of your best offensive players. But like I said, not Sam Cosmi, but Deebo Samuel has been balling out, and Luke McCaffrey as well has been improving. Let's talk about Sam Cosmi, offensive lineman for the Washington Commanders. Their offensive line's been playing well, but hey, Sam Cosmi, that's your, a really good offensive guard in this league, one of the better ones in all of football. I'm not sure if he's made a Pro Bowl or All Pro. I always forget with those things. I don't really care. Besides the point, he's one of the better guards in football. So the fact that he's either going to be back this week or next week is really, really good news for the Washington Commanders. And he's going to get a full week of practice, and practiced 2 days last week apparently, and got reps today and go through a padded practice tomorrow. They want him in when he's ready, want him comfortable with his technique. They're not going to rush him, but it doesn't seem like they're rushing him either. They opened up the window last week. He didn't play, but he got basically a full week of practice. And this week too, it's looking like he's getting some more practice. And not that it's like a huge deal, because it's an ACL injury, so an extra day isn't going to mean a lot. But he does get that extra day, so maybe that gives him a little bit of a more higher chance of playing. Who knows? But I think getting Sam Cosmi back is huge. I mean, this offensive line though, they've put in the replacements, and those guys have played well. Chris Paul back-to-back really, really good games for the Commanders. It might be 3 games at this point. I believe it's 3 games at this point for Chris Paul. And then, because it was after the Packers game, so it was the Raiders, Falcons in this game. And then Andrew Wiley's been playing pretty well as well at right guard. Obviously, someone's going to have to go to the bench. It's not going to be Tunsil. It's not going to be Biadasz. Obviously, it's very unlikely to be Connerly. And Cosmi's a guard, so the best guess is it's going to be one of those guards. Chris Paul's been playing well. Wiley's been playing well too. I would assume they just take Wiley out and then have Cosmi at right guard, Connerly at right tackle, and then if you need to, you can go ahead and put in Wiley at right tackle or left tackle. If anyone gets hurt, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen, but just mentioning those possibilities. But real quick, a word from today's sponsor. And a huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you guys check them out. And there's a big NFC East matchup tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. The Giants versus the Eagles. The Eagles just lost, and I'm hoping that the Giants can get them to a 2-game losing streak, and this would be with Jackson Dart hopefully beating the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. So I have a couple picks for this game. The one you see on the screen is Jackson Dart over half a passing touchdown, Jalen Hurts under 41.5 rushing yards, and Dallas Goedert over 32.5 receiving yards. So that's $10 for to win 36.2. So make sure you guys check them out. That's my pick for the Thursday night game. I also have some picks that will be coming up for the Monday night game. Use promo code Pedro on Sleeper and get a 100% match up to $100 on your deposit. Link in the description. Terms and conditions apply. Alrighty, so let's go into more Sam Cosmi stuff, and again a huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. But Sam Cosmi, I think he'll be good to go. I lean towards them clearing him for next week, but I would love if he could play this week, because again would be a huge it would be really good for the Commanders. Honestly, I think that the fact that they're playing Monday night might make it less likely that he plays on Monday night, just because of the fact that the next week would be a 6-day turnaround instead of a 7-day, and maybe that makes things a little bit more difficult for Sam Cosmi. I don't know, and at least in their eyes, in the team's eyes, but would love it if he could play this week and help out the Commanders against the Chicago Bears, who their defensive line hasn't been amazing, definitely not run defense wise. Their run defense has been really, really bad, and the Commanders should be all over it in terms of Bill Krosky Merritt balling out, and then give it to McNichols and Chris Rodriguez when you want to, but really let's give like 90%, at least 80-85% of the carries to Bill, kind of like what they did in the last game. That's what they did before, kind of at the end of the game, where they're like, all right, let's just pack it in, give it to Chris Rodriguez, no fumbles and stuff like that. And that's kind of what happened. But early on in the game, it was almost all Bill. So I think like 13 out of the first 14 carries were Bill Cosmi. So let's continue that. 15 carries minimum in this game is what I want, unless it's absolutely not working. The Bears run defense is historically bad. I think so far they're allowing the second most yards per carry in NFL history. If that stat I saw was true, their run defense, though, regardless, even if that stat isn't true, which I think it is, their run defense is really bad. And yeah, I think it was some Bears fans saying the stat. And Bill Cosmi is leading the NFL in terms of running backs and yards per carry by a decent margin. So that's a bad combo for the Bears there. Also, Commanders' defensive line, 4th in sacks per game. And Dorrance Armstrong has been really good. 34 career sacks, but 5 this year, which is tied for 3rd in the NFL. And Darnell Wright, their, I believe, left tackle, but might be right, but pretty sure left. What is this? His 3rd year out of Tennessee. It's been a minute since he's been in the league, but he's been decent. But I heard he has a lot of penalties too. But still would be a big loss for the Chicago Bears. This game's huge, guys. This is a game I really want the Commanders to win. Like, I know it's not a divisional game, but for me, it's, besides the Eagles, it's the biggest game, for me in terms of wanting to win, just because of how much that Bears fans talk, and they're always trying to talk about Caleb, how he's better, this and that, and whatever. It is what it is, but let's just show them who's the better quarterback this week, who's the better team, and let's get the win. It's Monday Night Football, and it's going to be, a blackout. So the Commanders are going to be wearing their black, alternate uniforms, and hopefully the fans at the stadium will wear black. I know everyone doesn't have, black Commander stuff, but maybe you still wear just a black tee or something. And then, I know a lot of people, though, do have the jerseys. So we'll see how many, people actually show up in all black for the game. And, hopefully they can get this win. They always do all black, I believe, against the Bears. Last year they did it. The year before they did it, which I was at that game. And then last year, and that game against the... And matter of fact, it's always against the Bears. And that game was really bad against the Bears. The one I went to this past year, it was very good. So let's hope this week it's a very good game, I guess, technically, next week since it's Monday. But, yeah, that's kind of it on the Commanders' injury front. Nothing too crazy. They talked about the Hail Mary a little bit during practice, all that stuff. But, we'll continue, guys, give you guys updates on the injuries. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.